18 points of this exam just moved under everyone's feet. Business environment tripled from 8% to 26%. This is the PMP exam 2026, and it's not the test you were told about. Sitting in with us today is Professor Adeyemi, who studies how the people who write this thing build every question from the outline up. When the map redraws overnight, you want the person in the room who reads the map for a living. And here's the one thing I am holding back until the very end. One eligibility change means some of you qualify sooner than you did a month ago, and most prep sites still print the old rule. It's small, it's specific, and it might change whether you even wait to apply. Keep that one warm.
Leo here, and I'll say it out loud so nobody wastes a weekend on the wrong plan. Your old study split is dead. If you built your prep around the numbers in a course from last year, you're pouring hours into the wrong test. The new weights are people 33%, process 41, business environment 26. Write those three down before anything else.
This is Sarah, and the number that trips people is the one they can still find everywhere. The old table, 4258. It's printed in half the free study guides online. It's baked into the cheap practice apps, and it's simply wrong now. If your material still says 8% business environment, throw it out. It's teaching you the retired exam. Let me lay all three shares side by side, because the proportion is the whole story here, not any single fact about a single domain.
Process is still the biggest slice at 41%. People is a third of the exam, 33%. And business environment, the piece that used to be a sliver you could almost skip, is now more than a quarter of everything they will ask you. One question in 4 now lives in the domain most people study least.
Yeah, and business environment isn't trivia. It's governance, it's compliance, it's how your project actually serves the business that's paying for it. It's the strategy layer that used to be a footnote, and now it's a full chapter you can't phone in.
Hold on, because the question people keep asking is the wrong one. They ask whether the exam got harder. It didn't get harder, it got broader. Tripling business environment is the writers saying plainly that a modern project manager has to read the business, not just run the schedule. That's the whole shift in one number.
So here's the ruling. About 80% of what a working manager already knows still transfers straight across. The people fundamentals, the process fundamentals, how you run a status meeting or handle a slipping deadline, those didn't change. You aren't starting from zero. You're topping up on that new 26% and on how the questions are now asked. And that's the part I want you to feel today. The reweight isn't a wall, it's a redirect. The hours you already put in still count. You just aim the rest of them somewhere new?
And there are two main forces behind the rewrite, both right in the outline. Artificial intelligence and sustainability. Not because you need to code, but because the writers decided a manager who ignores those two is missing where projects actually break now. That's why the business domain swelled.
So the piece to replan is your hours. If your prep budget was built around the old 4258, you're spending most of your time on the two domains that shrank and starving the one that grew. Flip the ratio. Give business environment the weeks it now deserves.
And roughly 40% of the questions are predictive, the classic plan and control world, while about 60% are adaptive or hybrid, the agile flavored side. That split runs through all three domains, so you can't just be a Gantt chart person or just a sprint person. The exam wants both, and it wants you to know which one a scenario is asking for.
One reassurance, because the forums are full of panic about it. A PMP you earn after July 9th is the exact same credential as one earned before. There's no old version and new version, no asterisk on your certificate, no grandfathering anyone into the retired exam. Same 3 letters, same weight on a resume.
Which matters for a very practical reason. If you started prepping months ago, that work wasn't wasted. The people and process foundations you built still carry. You aren't relearning, you're re-aiming.
And where this is going, the direction the whole thing is heading, is judgment. Not memorizing the 26%, reading it. Deciding with it under time pressure when the clock is ticking and every option in front of you looks defensible. That's the muscle that actually gets tested, and it's the one you cannot cram the night before. You build it by running scenario after scenario until the right move stops feeling like a guess and starts feeling like a reflex. That's the whole game.
That's the real headline. This exam doesn't reward what you know. It rewards how you decide when 4 answers all sound reasonable at once. PMI has a specific way it wants you to decide, and we call it the decision filter. 7 steps. We don't teach all of it today, but we build the whole method across this series, and it's the thing generic PMP videos never give you.
So the question everyone is actually sitting on, before any of the studying even starts, is this. The exam changed on July 9th, so is my plan, my money, and my eligibility all different now?
All 3, and we walk each one in that order. Before we do, one thing that saves you money and grief tonight. Everything we drill lives free at certs.professorerica.com. Free practice questions and free flashcards built on this exact outline, so you're never accidentally studying the retired test. Go pull them up while you watch.
So start with what the test even looks like now, because the very first thing that trips people is they still picture the old one. And it doesn't look like the exam in those prep books at all. It looks like...
Before we keep going, one small favor that actually moves the needle. If this is landing for you, tap like, then subscribe and turn on the bell so you do not miss the rest. 2 taps, completely free, and it pushes this in front of more people who need it.
It doesn't look like the book you studied from at all. And here's the trap everybody falls into first. They assume it got bigger. It didn't. It's still 180 questions. Let me walk the whole shape of it once, end to end, so you can actually picture the day. 180 questions total. 170 of those are scored, 10 are unscored pretest items the writers are quietly trying out on future exams, and you've no way to tell which is which, so you treat all 180 like they count. 240 minutes on the clock, 2 10-minute breaks. And the structure of the day is the part that genuinely changed, because a distinct case study section now opens the whole exam before you touch a single standard question.
240 minutes. 10 more than the old exam. That sounds like a gift until you feel how the case studies eat it. Reading a dense scenario twice burns clock the old multiple choice never did.
And the case study section is first on purpose. It fronts the exam with the densest, wordiest questions while you're freshest and your reading is sharpest. A case study hands you a paragraph of project context, sometimes an exhibit, and then several questions that all lean on that one scenario. Save those for hour 3 when your focus is fried and you'll drown in them. Front-loading them is PMI doing you a quiet favor if you plan for it.
And don't skim the split under it. Roughly 40% of the questions are predictive, the plan and control side, and about 60% are adaptive or hybrid. So even inside these blocks, you're constantly switching lenses. A question that reads like a fixed plan wants a different answer than one that reads like a sprint. Watch the shape of the day though, because the breaks are booby-trapped.
The case study section comes first. Then your first 10-minute break. Then the standard blocks. Then a second break. Then you finish, all inside 240 minutes. And here's the catch that costs people. Once you start a break, you can't go back into the section you just left.
So you review inside the section, not after. Flag and move within the block, but settle every flag before you stand up. I'm the person who reads my grandfather's actual handwriting rather than trust someone's transcription of it, so take this from me. Answer the exact words on the screen, not your memory of what a question like this usually wants. That door locks behind you the moment you take the break.
And about those 10 pretest questions. Don't spend 1 second hunting for them. They're invisible on purpose, they don't count, and the only thing chasing them does is rattle your pacing. Answer everything as if your certificate depends on it, because for the 170 that matter, it does.
And the questions all map to 26 tasks under the hood. 8 in people, 10 in process, 8 in business environment. That's the skeleton beneath every scenario they throw at you, and it's why the process block still carries the most weight.
Notice people and business environment both sit at 8 tasks. Same count of tasks, very different weight. because business environment tasks carry heavier. That's the reweight showing up in the structure, not just the percentages.
Which tells you the exam didn't get longer in questions. It got denser in reading. Same count, more words packed into each one, and a case study section that makes you hold several facts in your head at once.
So say it plainly for the people replanning tonight. The change is the question types and the breaks. It isn't more questions.
So it's basically just a longer version of the old test.
No, same number of questions, 10 more minutes. But the case studies and the locked breaks change how the whole thing feels. More time, harder pacing, no takebacks. That isn't the same test with extra minutes bolted on.
The chat just pushed up the exact thing I was about to gloss over, so let me not dodge it. If it's still 180 questions, why does everyone say the 2026 exam is so much harder?
Because harder is the wrong word, it's heavier. The reading load per question went up, the case studies force you to reread, and the locked breaks punish anyone who paces the old way. Same length on paper, more weight to carry across the room.
Which is why the smart prep is endurance, not just more flashcards. You train to still be sharp reading a dense scenario in the third hour, the same way a runner trains for distance instead of a single fast mile. Sit full-length practice exams, not just 20 questions at lunch.
Same test, new stamina.
New stamina, which starts with knowing exactly what these new questions actually look like on the screen.
Different animal now. The questions themselves. Professor Adiemi is still with us for this one because there are two brand new formats you've never practiced on: case or scenario questions and graphic-based questions.
And both of those show up on every delivery mode, whether you sit it at a test center or from your kitchen table on the online proctor. Nobody escapes the new formats, so don't assume testing at home spares you the case studies.
But some formats only exist in the test center. Matching, point and click, and pull-down items are center only. If you test online through the proctor, you literally see fewer question types. Same content, fewer ways of being asked.
And that's a real decision, not a footnote. The content is identical either way, so nobody gets an easier exam by picking a room. Pick the one that fits how your hands answer under pressure, not the one closest to home.
Let me put the two rooms side by side so you can see exactly what you gain and what you give up by testing online.
Online, through the proctor, you get the 4 core formats: multiple choice, multiple response, the new case or scenario, and graphic. At the test center, you get those same 4, and then 3 more that only live in the room: matching, point and click, and pull down.
The graphic ones scare people the most and deserve it the least. A chart, a burn down, a simple network diagram, and a question about what it tells you. You're reading a picture instead of a paragraph. Expect only a handful of them, maybe 3 to 5, so learn the common charts and move on.
Here's the real trap though, and it's the one everyone is terrified of. The artificial intelligence questions. Picture a scenario. Your sponsor and your lead developer disagree on scope, and an artificial intelligence tool on the project flags a schedule risk nobody caught. 4 answers. One says implement what the tool recommends immediately. One says overrule it and trust your gut. And every fiber of an experienced manager wants to just act on the smart tool because that feels decisive. ADME, tell them why that reflex is the trap.
And that's exactly the wrong reflex. The artificial intelligence answer is almost never technical. 9 times out of 10, it's pure project judgment. You analyze the flag with the team, you validate it, you fold it into the plan. You never auto-implement what a tool hands you because you still own the decision and the outcome.
Wait, so do I actually need to know how artificial intelligence works to answer these?
No, 0 technical knowledge. It's a project judgment question wearing an artificial intelligence costume. Across the whole exam, maybe 4 or 5 items mention the technology at all, and perhaps 1 is genuinely about it. So don't overstudy this. Study the judgment, not the tool.
And you can't chase a passing percentage because there's not one to chase. PMI doesn't publish a cut score or a pass rate. You're rated above target, then target, then below target, then needs improvement, overall and in each domain. That's your whole scoreboard.
So the old 61% number people quote is a ghost. It was a published passing score more than 20 years ago, and it has not applied in a very long time. Chase target on your practice ratings, and make sure no single domain is dragging below target, because it's scored per domain too.
So the practical call on the room is simple. If you get thrown by unfamiliar clicking and you want the fewest surprises, test online where there are only 4 formats. If you want to face every possible format so nothing is new on the day, book the center. Neither is easier. They're just different shapes of the same test, which brings us to the thing that actually fails people, and it's not any format, it's reading stamina. 3 long blocks, dense case studies you've to reread, hour after hour. By the back half, your eyes are just skating over words and you're picking answers you'd never pick fresh.
And I'll be straight about the edge of what I can help with. The formats I can walk you through cold, all 7 of them, in an afternoon. How your own brain holds up in hour 3 though, that's training, not knowledge, and it's the one part I can't study for you.
Which is exactly why you build it. Sit at least 2 or 3 full-length 4-hour mocks before the real thing. At the same time of day you'll test. No phone, no snacks between blocks. You aren't just checking answers. You're teaching your focus to survive the 4th hour.
So the takeaway on the formats is small and freeing. Learn the 2 new shapes so nothing is a surprise. Pick the room that fits your hands. Ignore the artificial intelligence scare because it's judgment in a costume. And train the endurance because that's the one that actually beats people. Notice how little of that's new memorization. Almost none. The exam didn't add facts to cram. It added ways to be tired and tested. So that's the short version of what changed on the screen. Everything so far is the test itself. The next number is the one that actually stops people from ever signing up, and it has nothing to do with the questions. It's what this costs, and why nobody can tell you the price.
Okay, I have to say it, because the price is the part everybody gets wrong, and it's not even close. The single smartest thing you spend money on for this exam isn't the exam, it's the membership. Join PMI first. And that feels backwards, so let me show you why it's not. As of the latest published figures, membership runs around $160 a year, plus a one-time application fee of about $10. Small number. Hold on to it, because it's about to save you real money. And that same membership keeps paying after you pass, because renewal costs less as a member and you get the whole library of resources thrown in. So it's not a fee you eat once. It's the thing that makes every other price on this list smaller.
Because the exam itself is around $425 if you're a member, $675 if you're not. That gap, $250, is the whole trick, and it's bigger than the membership costs.
So walk it. A non-member pays $675 for the exam alone. A member pays the $160 for membership, the $10 to apply, and then the $425 exam fee. Add the member side up, and you're already ahead before any perks.
Let me put the member path on the receipt so the math isn't a guess. And every one of these is hedged, so confirm the live numbers at pmi.org before you pay a cent, because they move with your region.
Membership, around $160. The one-time application, about $10. And the member exam fee, around $425.
That third line, the exam, is where the discount actually lands.
Which brings you to about $595 all in, call it around $589 once regional pricing wobbles it, and PMI hands you the 800-page PMBOK guide as a free PDF on top. Versus $675 for the exam alone as a non-member. You paid less and got more.
And here's where it stings, because there are 2 fees nobody warns you about. If you fail and retake, that's around $275 more as a member, $375 if you let your membership lapse. Failing isn't just a bruise, it's another car payment.
This next part is the one people rewind, so take it slow. The reschedule trap. Move your appointment inside 30 days of the date, that's $70. Move it inside 48 hours, or just no show, and you forfeit the entire fee. Gone. Not credited, not refunded. Gone.
And that's why the number is hidden in the first place. PMI doesn't publish a flat price anywhere. It sits behind the My PMI login because it flexes with membership and your region, which is exactly why every video you've watched quotes a slightly different figure. Nobody is lying. The number genuinely depends on you.
And you get one shot at a good deal on the window too. Your eligibility runs 1 year with up to 3 attempts. 3 fails and you wait a year to reapply. So the money and the clock are linked. Don't open the window until your practice scores say you're ready.
The study bank is worth a line too. PMI Study Hall runs around $49 for Essentials, $79 for Plus, per 3-month term. Plus is the tier with more full-length mocks, and full-length mocks are the part that actually matters. But be honest with people. PMI reorganized the whole thing for the new exam. Candidates are reporting a smaller question bank than the version they remember, and you rebuy it each term. Check the current contents on pmi.org before you pay, because what's in each tier moved. Useful, not magic.
And where this is going, honestly, is just do it. If you lead projects, the market rewards these 3 letters more every single year. The salary bump alone clears $600 in a month.
That's the market's half, Leo. Here's the other half. And I'll say it out loud even though it's uncomfortable. If you're a senior individual contributor who isn't chasing a project leadership role, you'll spend $600 and months of nights for a credential your job may never actually reward. Some industries shrug at it. Buying it because it's famous is how you waste a season.
So here's the honest verdict. If you lead projects or you're moving toward a role that does, the credential is a real salary and mobility signal, and it pays for itself fast. Recruiters filter on it, and in a lot of shops it's the difference between the interview and the auto-reject. If you're not on that track and don't want to be, the money and the months won't pay you back, and that's not a maybe. Leo is right that the market rewards it, and Sarah is right that it rewards it for a specific person. Buy the ticket for the trip you're actually taking.
The chat just surfaced the exact thing I keep dodging, so I'll take it. Okay, but if I fail once, how much does a retake actually add to all this?
Around $275 more as a member, $375 if not, per attempt, inside your 1-year window. Which is the whole argument for not booking until your mocks are landing at target. A retake costs more than the membership that discounts everything.
So it's basically a discount, not a fee.
Cheapest $160 in the whole process. Which finally leaves the one thing everyone actually worries about before any of this: whether they even qualify. Remember the eligibility change I held back at the very top? Here it's the one nobody's guide has updated. The experience window is 10 years now, not 8.
10, not 8. And that 2-year gap matters more than it sounds, because most prep sites still print 8, so people quietly count themselves out over experience that actually still qualifies. If a project fell in year 9, it counts now. It didn't last month.
And there's a whole new tier that didn't exist before, which is the part almost nobody has caught. An associate's degree, or any post-secondary qualification, now needs only 48 months of experience. Under the old rules, a 2-year degree got you nothing extra. You sat in the high school bucket at 60 months. Not anymore. That's a full year less of required experience for a huge slice of working people who thought they were still a year out.
Let me lay the 4 tiers out, because the latter is the whole eligibility picture in one look.
A high school or secondary diploma needs 60 months of experience. The new associate's tier, 48, a bachelor's degree, 36, and a degree from a globally accredited program, just 24 months. More school, fewer months. That's the whole ladder.
Now picture a project manager we'll call Andre, operations supervisor, 33, 6 years of overlapping building relocations, and his title never once said project manager. He is convinced he doesn't qualify, so he never even opens the application.
Andre qualifies, because PMI counts leading and directing projects, not the words printed on your business card. That's the single biggest fear experienced people carry into this, and the answer is yes, your years count.
But operations isn't project work. That'll never count.
It counts, Leo, if it was leading and directing a project, a defined start, a defined end, and a specific outcome. Routine operations, the same thing every Tuesday, don't count. But a building relocation with a deadline, a budget, and a team absolutely does. The rule is clear on that line.
Okay, fair. It's the project, not the title. So the monthly family churrasco I run doesn't count, even with a hard start and a very hard finish when the meat runs out.
And write it in the language PMI reads, not my job duties but initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, and closing a specific effort. Andre didn't supervise operations. He initiated a relocation, planned it, executed it, monitored it, and closed it out. Same work, described the way the application actually scores.
And you still need 35 hours of what PMI now calls commercial training. That's the old contact hours requirement, just renamed, and a course you took years ago still satisfies it forever. One thing worth knowing, if you already hold an active CAPM, that 35-hour requirement is waived entirely.
The full eligibility rules run for pages, and we aren't going to read 40 lines of policy at you. We'll pin the current PMI eligibility page in the description so you can check your own case against the source. The one rule to actually carry in your head is this: non-overlapping months inside the last 10 years.
And be honest on that application, because any of them can be audited, not just the shaky ones. If you're selected, you're told before you pay a cent, you get 90 days to gather manager sign-offs and documentation, and PMI now runs an enhanced verification step inside the system that didn't used to be there. Inflate your months, and a failed or refused audit is a 1-year suspension from applying. But don't let the word audit scare you into undercounting either. Real experience, described accurately, sails right through. It's only fiction that doesn't.
And one myth to bury before you write a single line of that application, because this exact one costs people a whole year.
The myth is that your experience only counts if it's from the last 8 years. It's wrong. The window is 10. Believe the old number, and you leave 2 full years of qualifying work sitting on the table, and maybe count yourself out of a certification you already earned the right to.
And here's the thing, all of this eligibility still can't fix. Picture Dana, a 15-year operations lead, every one of those years sitting well inside the 10-year window. Rock solid experience. Her gut says escalate to the sponsor the second anything slips, because that reflex kept her ops job clean for a decade. On the exam, that instinct is the wrong answer far more often than it's right.
That's the whole point of this series. The decision filter, 7 steps, the exact way PMI wants you to decide when your instinct and the right answer split apart. Master that, and the eligibility, the cost, the formats are all just the ticket in. Here are the 2 things to actually do tonight. Check your experience against the 10-year window and join PMI before you buy anything.
And the mindset is the bigger number we're holding for next time, because it's the one thing that actually moves pass and fail. Everything today was the map. The next episode is the compass.
If this cleared up the 2026 changes for you, do me one favor. Like this video and subscribe, because the study plan episode is next and it plugs straight into everything we just mapped. So here's the one I'll leave you with. Knowing everything you now know about the new exam, are you going to sit it at the test center for the extra formats, or from home on the online proctor? Whatever you decide it on purpose. This is Professor Erica, glad you're building the real map with us. See you in the next one.